what I'm
Yeah.
really supposed to be.
Well, thanks for clarifying, and thanks for helping the listener connect to that, of just, okay, we're, it's all about living fully and fully expressing and fully feeling, right? And when you fully
Yeah.
feel the grief and the shame and the guilt or whatever it is on this side,
Yeah.
it frees you up, right, to feel this other
Yes.
side. And
That's right.
I actually just came back from Austin, Texas this past weekend. We were there with about 100. Um, it's kind of a cool group. You should check it out. We had the founder on the podcast. His name's John Roman, and this is called Front Row Dads. It's
Nice.
only dads. Okay,
I love it.
everyone's in business, and they're a dad. So it's like
Wow.
100 men coming together, and from all over the country.
Yeah.
And it was basically 3 days of what you're talking about, of
Yeah.
us doing weird shit and crying
Yeah.
our eyes out and creating safe
Yes.
spaces and containers. And
I,
I'm sure if someone just wandered in from off the street, or
yeah. It was like, what are these wackos
yeah,
doing?
exactly, yeah, totally, absolutely. But the feeling that we all had of connectivity, of freedom, of being alive, of connection with one another, even leaving, right? It's only been a few
Yeah.
days, but it's just like cleaner, clearer, better interactions with my wife, with my
Exactly.
kids. Everything is running smoother, right?
Yes.
And so
Exactly.
this just brings us back to, like, well, okay, we've outlined the problem. What's the solution?
Yeah.
And, like, how does your work get people there? Like, walk us through that a little bit.
Yep. Totally. So, the solution is basically connecting to the very things that make us up. So,
Mm-hmm.
if we take the lens of the indigenous and we agree that the elements, and I mean, look at any culture, look at Chinese culture, Japanese, Greek, um, European, they're all speaking of the elements. We look to the stars and we have them categorized according to the elements. um, Elements are a part of our human history, they always will be. I mean, where would we be without water? Where would we be without air, without fire, without mineral? I mean, all these things, we're living because of these elements, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they truly are the ingredients of creation. And so essentially, we support people through genius frequency methodologies, to connect in their bodies to the elements. And everyone has an elemental code. So everyone has a specific order of operations of each element. And from that order of operations, they experience the nature of reality, um, and are fully connected on a physical, emotional, mental, spiritual level. And so what happens in life is, when, because we live on a trauma-based, in a trauma-based learning school, um, our bodies have to learn how to protect in these moments and kind of bookmark. So it's like if you're scrolling, on your phone, like you find something on Instagram, you're like, oh, I want to check that out, but I don't have time to do it right now. So then you go to the website, you bookmark it, and then like, oh, when I'm just like hanging out on a plane or doing whatever, I'm just gonna, like, that's when I'm gonna go through all this stuff. But I need time and space to do it. So that's like trauma. It's like we don't have time and space to experience an experience. So we bookmark it. Our body does that for us. And we're basically going to bookmark that as a wound, which is basically wound, which is a winding. And so the winding of our tissues in the body, whether the neurological tissues, muscular, vertebral misalignment, connective tissue, all these things go into a winding pattern. It's a protection pattern, and it's a bookmark of energy and information that ideally, when we have time and space and safety and connection, that we check out. We look up that website, we go, what happened? And if we don't, then we're basically not accessing. It's like our hard drive speed doesn't go as well. Our connectivity to the internet doesn't work as well. Like, we get on the sites and it tends to crash for some reason. We've got a 5G phone, but it's only working with 2G. So everything's like a little bit clunky and messy. That's how humans operate when they're wounded. So essentially, when we're working with people, we're supporting them to first unscramble, because basically that code scrambles for protection. And so when it unscrambles, it allows for the free flowing transmission of energy and information that we call our real life experience. And as that happens, people feel things. They feel emotions. They feel sensations that they haven't. They start to feel pains and tensions in their body start to unwind. They start to recognize these repeating thought patterns of negativity that have plagued them for years and years and couldn't find the pause or the off button to all of a sudden start to shift or disappear. They start to become aware of memories of themselves in certain parts of their life and understand why the trauma happened. And they don't have to have someone translate for them. They start to become their own translator of these experiences, such that there's a clarity there that guides and informs them to the ultimate, which is essentially remembering like who you are and why the F you're here. So that's all done through essentially, working on the body and the energy
Mm.
body around. And also, we have a whole series of explorations in the body. And this is, what we're launching come 2023 is how do you work with your own body to connect with the elements and with your own two hands and nothing more necessary. You can literally unwind the traumas of your life that are keeping you from you and are interfering with the clarity of, you know, answering all the great questions. Why are you here?
Mm.
What's your value? What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to eat today? All those things. Yeah.
Well, I mean, uh, if you're listening and that doesn't sound interesting to you, uh, please go find another podcast. No, I mean,
Right.
it's like, yeah, this is, it's like,
Listen
do
to
you
the
want to,
Worse Than Poor podcast because
yeah,
that's
there you go.
probably
Yeah.
more.
That's more your alley, up your
Yeah.
alley. So it's like, what am I here for? What am I here to do? What are my gifts? What are my strengths? Like,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to do today? How should I respond to
Yeah.
this person?